Hello YouTube, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and on this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answer they need from an employment attorney. Now, a little history on this question. We have a question here from iTube5353. iTube5353 asked a question on my live stream yesterday, but I needed some clarification. And over the course of that live stream, I guess iTube provided that clarification, but I didn't see it because the chat moves pretty quick, and because some people gave me tips, like people were putting in $5 tips, which you don't have to do on our live streams, but they wanted to, and so I skipped ahead and I went and answered those questions where people, gave money to the channel, because capitalism, and so I didn't get to answer the clarification for iTube 5353's question. Here, iTube has posted the question clarification as I guess a comment on the video, so we're going to get to it now. So let's read the question. Excuse me. Hi, Vince. Earlier, I asked about my company's obligation to engage in an interactive process when there is an issue with my FMLA paperwork. Pause. Just real quick, what I had originally answered iTube's question was, hey, the interactive process is something that comes up with ADA claims. If you're seeking a reasonable accommodation, you get the interactive process. It is an affirmative duty that your employer engages in the interactive process with you in terms of reaching a reasonable accommodation. Now, that is not a feature necessarily of the Family Medical Leave Act, which is FMLA. However, if you are seeking FMLA as an accommodation, it is possible that FMLA and the reasonable accommodation dialogue and the affirmative interactive process would all cohabitate together. So it's a little complex, but I digress. Let's move on. Back to the question. iTube says, to clarify, I'm arguing for disparate treatment and the FMLA interference because my coworker received an email from our manager giving him the opportunity to apply for FMLA to his unexcused absences a week after the deadline. I did not receive any such courtesy, but was fired instead. Had I been given the same opportunity, I would have fixed the error and would still have my job. We both have mental health disabilities. However, we have significant differences in our diagnoses, and I had just returned from rehab a few months before this event. Pause. Congratulations on rehab. We're rooting for you. Let's go on. And listen, I know rehab is hard, and I know less than 5% of people who go into rehab actually get better. Addiction is a hell of a problem, and it's something that's certainly been an issue in my family, so really cheering for you. Really hoping for the best and applauding you for this hard thing that you're doing. Excuse me. Now, iTube goes on. Thank you for everything you do for the community. I'm sorry if I came off as rude earlier. Not at all. You didn't come off as rude at all. I just felt bad because you felt that I skipped your question. I was not skipping your question. There's like a chat streaming through the live stream. Sometimes I don't see things. Okay. So I think your theory of the case is as follows, if I understand it. My coworker and I both have mental health disabilities. However, my rehab is somehow being treated more harshly by my employer than my coworker, whatever their diagnosis, whatever their disability is. And so when my coworker had unexcused absences, they were allowed to retroactively fill those absences with Family Medical Leave Act time and keep their job. But iTube 5353, was not, because my employer doesn't want to accommodate my specific disability, which involves rehab. And perhaps my employer views my disability more negatively than the disability that my coworker is dealing with, which who knows what that could be. That could be depression or something else, right? Either way, we know it's a mental health disability. Okay. That is, I would argue, a viable argument. A viable theory of a case. You can bring that claim, and I would say that could have legs. Now, two claims there. You want to pursue them both. You have an FMLA claim. You should pursue that. Don't leave it on the table. You also have an ADA claim, an Americans with Disability Act claim. You may also have claims under state and local law, depending on whatever jurisdiction you're in. Check with local counsel. Now, the FMLA claim is viable. And generally speaking, once your employer is aware that you missed time due to a disability, they should let you apply for FMLA, even if it's retroactive. Pause really quick. Fighting for retroactive FMLA is never as good as applying for FMLA in advance and not being granted it, right? So you certainly, you do want, if you're capable, if the events of life, and life comes at us fast, but if the events of life allow, you do want to apply for your FMLA in advance correctly. You don't want to have unexcused absences. Unexcused absences will always add complexity and complicate a case. Just the reality. That being said, the argument you're making under the FMLA claim is viable. I would argue it's also viable under the ADA claim, because what you're saying is, hey, you specifically dislike my mental health disability, and so you're treating me differently, disparately, as you said. You're making the disparate treatment argument. And so I'm receiving worse treatment than my similarly situated peer who also has a mental health disability. So we share a protected class, but we're differentiated by the specifics of our disability, right? That is a complex argument, because generally disparate treatment would say, hey, I'm receiving disparate treatment because I am in a different protected class than this similarly situated peer. Not the argument you're making. What you're actually saying here is, hey, I'm receiving negative disparate treatment even though my coworker and I, my similarly situated peer and I, share the same protected class. However, the specifics of my diagnoses has led to a harsher treatment from my employer because they have innate discriminatory bias against my specific diagnoses, which here sounds like it could be addiction, although we don't know for sure. You can rehabilitate a number of things, but it sounds from the way you're saying it like it could be an addiction disability, at least among other things, right? So I would argue that is certainly a viable theory of the case and a viable claim under the ADA. That's all I have to say. I think that's viable. I think that's a viable claim. I think that's a good argument. Also, check with local counsel to see if it's a good argument under state law and local law as well, right? Don't leave claims on the table. Anyways, iTube 5353. I hope this clarification carries value for you. I'm glad we were able to get it done. I know the live stream, when this goes live, the live stream will have been 48 hours ago. But listen, that's a pretty good turnaround time, I think. We're doing our best. I'm glad we're able to do it, and I wish you success with your potential claims. We will be cheering for you, both in terms of your rehab and if you're dealing with addiction in terms of that, but also in terms of your claim. I hope you make lots of money. I hope you're made whole. If you want the job, I hope you get the job. If you want the check, I hope you get the check. I hope they offer you oodles and oodles and poodles of money, and that you are wealthy and you're already wise because you've got a really good understanding of your rights. So I applaud you. I would say this is a very high level understanding of your claims and a good theory of the case. So carry on. Well done. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, comment down below, share our channel so it can grow. Helps us to help more people just like you. If there's further clarification that I can offer, comment down below. I'll do my best to help. Take care, everybody.